Welcome back to my whiskey pick of the week. You know I'm Eric the Whiskey Guy, and as always, as usual, and as expected, am I bringing you a treat this week, and this week is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we're going to be trying the Remus straight bourbon. So buckle in. We're taking a ride. We're going down back to Prohibition, the roaring 1920s, and this guy, he got his fingerprints all over Prohibition. He is known, George Remus, he is known as the king of bootlegging, and I am excited. This week we got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not every week that I get to mix bourbon and true crime in the same conversation, but this guy, he's a hot mess. He is a hot mess, so I can't wait to get into it. Put it like this: if his story happened in the last 15, 20, 10 years, he will have his own 2-hour special on NBC's Dateline. He's that type of guy. He's that dude. So I'm just excited to jump in it. So I'm gonna give you the history of the bourbon first. Now, the Remus, the bottle itself is made by, I believe it's a company called Ross and Squibbs. They took over the MGP ingredients. Anytime that you hear someone say, oh, the bourbon was sourced from Indiana, 9 out of 10 it came from this distillery. It's one of the oldest distilleries in the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio area. This is where your bottles such as like Angel's Envy, we did a review on that. Yellowstone, they also produce Bullet or Bootleg, however you want to pronounce it. It comes from this one. So if Sazerac ever had like a rivalry or like some type of competition in the market, it would probably be this distillery right here. So it goes back. Now I believe this is it's a 94 proof. It ranges, it's about a $30 bottle. So on paper, I would have to compare it to probably something like Buffalo Trace. So I say it'll be in that category. Now the first time I seen this bottle, actually I didn't even see this bottle. I had a chance. I could have bought one of their premier Remus. It's called the Great Gatsby. I'm sure everyone's seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's playing a bootlegger, Jay Gatsby in the movie. They got a special reserve. I seen that and I was gonna get it. I was like, oh, this would be a great bottle for probably like New Year's Eve. But then I was like, but half is trash. I don't know if I want to spend that type of money, because it was a pretty penny they wanted for it. I was like, I don't know if I want to spend all this money, and then if I don't like it. So I seen this on the shelf and I was like, well, let me at least try the $30 bottle. So the next time that come around, if I like it, then I wouldn't have to second guess either I want it or I don't. So I'm kind of glad that I got this one now. I would consider this probably their small batch of the fleet that they got. They also got a bathed roof. They got their rise. So it's a pretty good company. So I'm excited to get into it. Now, let's talk about George Remus. Now, George Remus, this guy here, he went from being a lawyer, a pharmacist, to bootlegging. So he started bootlegging in the early 20s. So just imagine, you got your law degree, you done passed the bar, you got a good job, you got a reputable job, but making bootleg just pays more. So he went to basically the dark side. He didn't even do it legal. He's still doing it illegal as a lawyer. So he's out there bootlegging. 1925, he goes to prison. So he's doing 2 years fair time in Atlanta. So while he's doing his little stint in Atlanta, he's in there and he's just running his mouth. Run his mouth, telling everybody that he can tell how big he is, who he is, etc., etc. So he got a buddy, probably a cellmate that he sit up with, and he kind of confined to this guy like, hey, don't tell nobody, but you know I'm worth millions, and my wife she holding down all my money, so you know my commissary, you know, blah blah blah. So the guy that he's telling this to just so happens to be an undercover agent. So he's telling this guy everything, personal business, his financial business, etc., etc. Now the undercover agent, you know, usually they go back to the office. They probably only staying there for about 2 weeks. He's supposed to go back to the office, you know, tell the upper management or, you know, his superiors, hey, I got some information. Let's start a case on the wife. The wife gonna take us to the money. We can confiscate it. Blase blah. That's what he's supposed to do. Not this guy. This guy goes back to headquarters, say that George Remus didn't tell me nothing. He didn't let anything slip. He probably quit that day because then he went and started whining and dining George Remus' wife to the point where they selling all his assets. Everything this dude owns, they sold it. A multi-million-dollar distillery that was in her name, she sold it, gave old George $100 on his commissary. Now, after you do all this, you would think that while he's still locked up, you would probably get a divorce. You know, you and the undercover go live in Europe somewhere. She wait till he get out of prison and then file for divorce. Now, one thing that Chris Rock says, you know, I'm not saying that he should kill her, but I understand. It's one of those type situations. So he get out of jail. She about to go she's filing for divorce. The day that she's supposed to finalize it in the courthouse, he followed. He run off the road, get out in broad daylight in a park in Cincinnati, shoots her in the chest. Pow, pow. She's dead. Now he's a lawyer, so guess what he does? He defends himself. Now while defending himself, he pleads temporary insanity. Now I'm no expert on the law. I'm surely not a lawyer, but I can't see a lawyer defending himself on a temporary insanity plea. Cause if you're sane enough to represent yourself on a murder case, you can't plead temporary insanity. But he did. And won. Yes, he was acquitted. Not guilty. Not guilty of first degree, but he was deemed insane. So as a sentence, he got sentenced to asylum for 7 months. He went through all that and got sentenced for 7 months. Killed his wife and got 7 months. George Remus is probably one of the best bootleggers of all times. All these stories that we hear about the gangsters, the Al Capones, the Lucky Lucianis, all those, they couldn't do what George Remus did. So George Remus, he's up there. So let's see if his bourbon could match his story or even get anywhere close to it. Now, anytime that I see whiskey, bourbon that's in Indiana, I always get excited. Anytime I see that Lawrenceburg, Indiana, I'm always excited. So this company is really the plug for all the other brands that I like. So we'll see. Got a good smell to it. Oh, that's smooth. This is a smooth bourbon right here. This doesn't even taste like it doesn't even really taste like bourbon. It tastes like scotch. It go down like scotch, like a real smooth. Like if you put a little bit of water in this, oh my God. This is a smooth bourbon. For $30, I would have to give this, an 8.5. And it's reaching a 9. This is some good bourbon. This is actually, I would say it's actually better than Buffalo Trace. I say Buffalo Trace is right here, and I have to give the Remus right there. And unlike Buffalo Trace, you probably can go in any store and pick this up at any time. Sometimes when you're looking for bourbon, Buffalo Trace, you go in your store, they ain't got it. But if they do got it, they got to sign one per person, or they got it behind. It's gonna be on the shelf right where you need it every time. I would actually choose this one over the Buffalo Trace. So hey, this is my pick of the week. If you see it, get your hands on the Remus. They also got a reserve, like I was saying earlier. They got probably about 5 or 6 in that fleet. So I would recommend start off with this one, work your way up, but this is not a bad choice. We're gonna do it all again next week.